Information Officer at the Phoenix Fire Department. We're out here today at 40th Street in Van Buren. Crews were dispatched initially around 5 p.m. for reports of a propane plant on fire. At this time, crews arrived. They were able to establish a water supply, verified that there were multiple propane tanks exploding on scene. As you can see here, this is one of the propane tanks that exploded right by one of our fire trucks. So we have hundreds of propane tanks scattered throughout the area, hence the reason we have isolated, evacuated, and denied entry to any of the buildings in the area. At this time, crews are letting the propane tanks off gas and extinguishing a structure fire just north of the scrapyard, where also there's a scrapyard as well as the propane tank business. No injuries have been reported at this time. We do have fire investigators on scene. Once we're able to enter the hazard zone to investigate the cause and origin of this fire, crews are doing a great job to make sure that this does not spread to neighboring businesses, and we're taking a layered approach to make sure that our crews have enough opportunities to recycle and rehab in this extreme temperature. Any questions?
We know that we were over just a few degrees over, and we were told that there was a very big concern about the fire spreading. We're seeing some people come out and be concerned at the smoke.
Yeah.
What is your message to them, and are you concerned that the fire can spread?
Absolutely. So at this time, if you're far enough away from the fire with this type of heat, it's important for people to remember to just shelter in place. If we need you to evacuate, we will let you know. At this time, people are self-evacuating, and that's fine if that's what they choose to do, but we encourage them to stay in an air-conditioned environment. Obviously, with smoke like this, embers can travel, so we're going to do the best we can to mitigate any form of spot fires that might turn up. At this time, we don't have any reports of any other structures on fire, and crews are doing a good job to monitor the area with the patrol to make sure that we don't have any other structure fires happen.
And you don't know the cause. Where did this originate from? Do you guys have any idea?
So the initial reports was that a propane business had propane tanks that were on fire and that they were burning. Why they started on fire, we don't know. And our investigators with the Phoenix Fire Investigations Task Force will do a great job to verify where and how they started on fire.
Can you talk a little bit about the dangers of those propane tanks exploding? Is there a concern that they
Absolutely.
fall on people,
Absolutely.
homes or cars, damaging them?
Yeah, so we have evidence of propane tanks up to 500 yards past the ground zero where this is actually happening. So there's absolutely a concern. Our partners with Phoenix PD are doing a great job to make sure that they keep everybody out of the immediate hazard zone and the nearby area. They're using caution and hazard tape as well as securing the streets to make sure that we don't have any of these propane tanks land on anybody and nobody gets hurt.
With so many propane tanks, obviously they're exploding. Can you walk us through what the next 3 to 6 hours may look like? Is this going to be an
Sure. So what happens with these types of propane tanks is they have a bleeder valve. That allows, when they catch on fire, to bleed until all of the propane actually exits the bottle. The challenge here is we have very, very large, probably 400 or 500 gallon propane tanks as well that we use to fill these types of things. So we need to let those bleed out. And the concern, obviously, we don't want those to get so hot that they would explode. As long as they're venting with the fire, then they're safe. And we're doing a good job of keeping the containers cool with ladder trucks, as you can see, spraying water on those large propane tanks as well as on the structure just to the north that's on fire.
Is it possible, with the extreme temperatures that we're having right now, is it possible, I know that you guys are still investigating, that heat could have played a factor in sparking?
At this time, it's too early to tell. These types of fires can start any time of year, so we really don't know. It wouldn't be safe for me to say. People have propane tanks in this type of heat all day, every day in the city of Phoenix. So we don't know that that's what caused it. We do know that the heat is playing a factor on the resources that are here, the people that live in the community, and so we do want to make sure that our firefighters are getting enough rest, water, recycle, and rehab throughout this incident, and making sure that the people as well are staying safe and out of the hazard zone.
We know that the Arizona Animal Welfare League is in the path of this. We've heard, thank goodness, that they've reported they evacuated all the animals,
Yeah.
which is great. What can you tell us about the parking? There's like a business that people park temporarily and go to the airport.
Yeah.
A lot of cars are there. Do you know anything about that?
So at this time, when I left the scene, we did have a parking lot that the airport uses for traffic to their facility. There was smoke that was passing over those cars. I don't have any information on that at this time. Hopefully it's just smoke and it passes by those vehicles. I did not see any vehicles on fire when I was over there.
When we're hearing those bangs, is it one of these
Yeah.
exploding? And then that could possibly send shrapnel, things like that.
Yeah, so as you see here, this tank blevied, so it exploded, and this is where it ruptured, right? So we have hundreds of these scattered around the area, as well as very, very large ones. So there's several that are in pieces over there. So absolutely shrapnel is a concern, hence the over exaggeration on our part to make sure that everybody's out of the area and safe.
And just so I'm understanding, there you said hundreds of those bigger tanks. Are the bigger tanks a big concern if they catch fire? Have they caught fire?
They're burning right now. Yeah, we have at least 2 that I saw that were burning. So, but they are off-gassing. So as long as the fire is coming out of that bleeder valve, then we're not concerned that it's going to explode because we have water on it keeping the tank cool. So everything is going as to plan in a situation like this from our side. Now we just want to make sure that we get all of the fuel out of all of these tanks before we can go in and evaluate the scene.
We were hearing that those bigger tanks may have been as full as about 70%.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been to this facility, so I don't know how full they were. I haven't spoken with any of the responsible parties for the business yet, but our investigators are speaking with them, so they'd have more details as far as how much fuel they could have been up to 100% for all we know. So we just need to give them time to bleed off.
How long could it take to bleed off?
It could definitely be hours. Yeah, we could be here for several hours tonight. This might be a long campaign fire that we're going to be out here on. Phoenix Fire is obviously very comfortable with things like this. We do this every day in the city of Phoenix, especially in the summer months when things get really hot. So we're prepared to handle this incident and taking a very safe approach to make sure that everybody's safe. Did you have a question?
Yes. Any concern with the air quality? I know propane is something.
Well, as of now, the propane's burning off, and so right now we do have smoke that's burning. So I would caution everyone to, yes, stay out of the smoke, because the smoke is a toxic fume, and we want to make sure that people aren't getting that in their skin, breathing it in. Stay indoors if you're anywhere near that smoke.
We saw Tempe was here. What else? What are other agencies are here?
Absolutely. So we've got a great mutual aid partnership with the surrounding cities. So Tempe, Guadalupe. We might have trucks from Mesa. I'm not even sure. Scottsdale might be here. So all of our surrounding partners we work really well with. It's basically like one big fire department, and just to make sure that we work as a team to make sure that this goes out. We train together. We work big fires like this together, so it's like a handshake basis, first name basis when we're dealing with stuff like this. Everybody knows each other, and we know what to do.
Captain, you mentioned the air quality issues. The wind is kind of shifting every once in a while. What is that radius that we could tell people if you're in this vicinity or this
I'd
area?
say if you were within 5 miles of 40th Street in Van Buren, be advised you could be dealing with some potential smoke in your area. Just try to stay out of that.
I was speaking with at least one person and not get back to them.
Sure. So at this time, if the command officers on scene have deemed that house is unsafe, then they won't let them back in. Most likely this fire is going to be put out now. Crews are already starting to get a handle on it. As you see gray and white smoke. That means they're getting water on the structure itself. So that structure is beginning to go out. So I imagine as soon as the structure's out and these propane tanks are all managed, then those people will be able to go home.
I'm not sure if you already answered this, but how many fire trucks and staff are on the scene
So
right now?
before we started this interview, we were at a second alarm. So we're expecting approximately 100 firefighters here, probably upwards of 30 to 40 different fire trucks and different apparatus. We do have a command van staged behind me with command officers from Phoenix Fire, Phoenix PD, and any of the important local stakeholders that would need to be a part of this. And we're going to work with the city officials to make sure that, like we talked about, air quality, any runoff from water, things along those lines are all going to be mitigated and handled in the most appropriate way.
We're still seeing planes take off and land behind us at Sky Harbor.
Uh-huh.
I know that would be up to them, but any update on that? Nothing's changed.
Absolutely, yeah. So Phoenix Sky Harbor has their own PIO, so they're going to go ahead and answer that. We've reached out to them. We've made contact with them. They understand the situation. So at this time, I haven't gotten any updates as far as what their procedures are going to be moving forward. But I would encourage you to reach out to their PIO, and they can answer any of those questions.
Captain, you may have answered this. Obviously, 115 degrees. For people not living in Phoenix that aren't familiar with what happens here just about every summer, is this the first
I'm taking notes.
fire incident? Can we expect more? Can you kind of break
Sure,
down
sure.
where
So,
we're at when it comes to these kind of commercial fires?
Yeah, absolutely not our first one
here too.
this summer.
Here too.
Speaking of people that maybe have moved here, we do have a lot of transplant folks that have moved here from out of state, people that might be spending their first summer or second summer in the city of Phoenix. Well, this is hot, and they're starting to see what happens. So big fires like this are definitely going to happen occasionally throughout the city, and we encourage everybody to manage your hydration, stay out of the heat. If you're going to be out working, people that just moved here, if you're going to be outside, do it in the early morning hours or in the later evening hours. Drink plenty of water, wear appropriate clothing as far as just a safety message. But yeah, we anticipate this is going to be a hot summer for a lot of people that are spending their first time here.
This is more of a technical question about the business. Do you know if the main line was buried, or do you know if it was...
I don't know. My guess is it would be buried. Most of those propane lines are, but I don't know for sure. I haven't been able to get to the hazard zone and see it yet. When I got close, it was so loud that the hissing and the heat, I wasn't able to get within 200 yards of the fire. So.
How hot does a suit get inside when a firefighter
So
is
our turnouts, yeah, I'm not sure exactly the exact temperature. I know that we do need to manage our work rest cycles though, because guys can get overheated pretty quickly, and our gals as well. So it's important that we make sure that our crews work for maybe 20 minutes, go through a bottle of air, then they come out, get some water if they need an IV. We check their temperatures. We make sure we monitor their vital signs as well to make sure that nobody's overheating and we don't have to send anybody to the hospital.
Is that why we have agencies from different cities coming in to help? Because there are crews that need to be recycled that need that time.
Absolutely, yeah. The multi-layered response is the answer to a problem like this. One crew or even 5 crews couldn't do this. We need to make sure that we have lots of people coming in and out, and making sure that we have all of the areas surrounded to make sure that this fire doesn't spread. Anybody else? Any questions? You want to do it in Espanol? Or no? Or are you good? Okay.
Thank you.
Just right here? Stay here? Or up there? Did I get your questions good?
Thank you.
You guys good?